Check this out. We got concrete today. Took a few days, we're a few days behind because of some permit issues and scheduling with our concrete contractor, but doesn't matter, we're in and we're looking forward. So these are what are called footings. So I know they kind of look like walls, but they're not. These are actually what are below the walls. And these are what will actually support the majority of the weight of the house. So there are footings that go all the way around the perimeter, you can see. So the footings will outline the shape of the house all the way around. And then if you notice, there are also a bunch of footings in between, like right behind my head right now, that are just in the middle. And so the reason that they do that is because there are areas in the house, because of the engineering, where there's going to be a lot of weight, where weight will get transferred like all the way from the roof through the wall and into the ground. And so there need to be these footings just spaced out all in between. And unfortunately, I missed the concrete trucks. I got here a little late, or a little later than I wanted to, and they were already gone. But the concrete is totally fresh. Like, it's super wet right now. But there are actually 2 more concrete pours, and so I have 2 more chances to catch the concrete trucks in action and show you those. I'm sure you've seen them before, but if I can catch them in action, I can kind of explain what they're doing. So like I said, so this is the first of 3 concrete pours. So you always put the footings in first, and then they have to totally dry. Usually it takes just like 24 hours. The concrete guys will come back tomorrow, and we call it, they strip the form, so they'll take all these wood forms off, and then they'll put wall forms on, and so they'll actually build on top of the footings concrete walls. With Alturas Homes, we do crawl spaces. We don't do slabs or things like that. So we do crawl spaces, and so our walls are a couple feet tall, and it gives you room to crawl around down there and put in all the HVAC stuff and all the plumbing and all that kind of stuff. All right, so here's what they look like up close. So they just use wood forms to make the shape of wherever they need to pour these footings. And this is another thing that's provided on the plan. So we have an entire page, or maybe even 2 pages actually, dedicated to the footings and the walls, and so the concrete walls. So it's so extremely important that the footings get placed in the exact proper location. As I mentioned, the engineers have determined certain areas where there's a ton of weight that's going to be transferred from all the way from the roof through the walls, and it's supposed to get transferred into the ground, and the footings are that transfer point. So you can imagine it's a really big deal if a footing gets poured off, then that weight has nowhere to be transferred to, and it can cause settling and things like that. And it's not like the house is going to fall down. If they mispoured a footing and nobody caught it, we have a lot of inspections and stuff, but say by chance nobody caught that a footing was poured off, it's not like the house is going to fall down, right? The houses are so over-engineered nowadays that it's not the end of the world. It's not like the house is just going to crumble into the ground if they pour a footing off. However, what you might see is like more drywall cracks than normal, or doors, or if there's a door on that wall where the footing was supposed to be underneath it, you might notice that the door stops opening and shutting properly. It might stick or bind or whatever. And that happens anyway just from regular settling, but it might be extra severe if a footing got poured off and there wasn't proper support underneath it. So don't get all worked up thinking that your house might be falling apart if you have a drywall crack or if a door isn't shutting or whatever. But that's the kind of stuff that can happen if a footing gets poured off. So we have it very detailed on every set of plans, exactly where they go. And so it's just really important that it gets done right. And in my time doing this, we have had a few times where they've got poured off, and it's not a big deal. So they just, usually we catch it though, or the framer catches it sometimes, and then the concrete guy just has to come up and set a new form and pour another footing. So it's not the end of the world. It's fixable. Everything is fixable, but obviously we try to get it right the first time so that we don't have to, it always sucks doing things twice when you could do it right the first time. So we try to avoid that. Well, that's about all that's going to happen today. It's day 5. And so they'll come back tomorrow when the concrete's dry, and they'll strip all the forms off, and they'll set up new forms for the walls, which will just be built right on top of the footings. And then a concrete truck will come and a pump truck, and they'll fill those, and we'll get the walls poured. But for today, it's just footings, and I'm happy to see some progress. So make sure you check in Thursday to see the walls go in. I'm Jake with Alturas Homes. We'll see you next time.